Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into the key ideas from psychotherapist Philippa Perry's incredible book, The Book You Wish Your Parents Had Read. We're going to break down the core concepts into some really clear practical takeaways.
So let's kick things off with a question that, probably hits a little close to home for a lot of us. It's that wild moment when you're talking to your own kid, and all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, I sound exactly like my mom or dad. Perry says this isn't just some funny little coincidence. It's actually a clue pointing to something much, much deeper.
And this one quote, it really sets the stage for everything we're going to talk about. It is the absolute foundational truth of the book. Our actions, not our big speeches, are what really, truly shape our kids. So, how does this actually play out day to day? Well, to figure that out, we've got to start by looking at our own past. Okay, so our first section gets into this huge concept, the idea that our own childhood is pretty much constantly echoing in our lives as parents. A lot of the time, we're reacting to things that happened to us ages ago, and we don't even realize it. The book has a great name for this, Your Parenting Legacy. You can think of it as the emotional blueprint you were handed. And it's not just about the big, obvious stuff. It's the little things, those unconscious patterns, the way you react when you're stressed, the way you show affection. All of it is passed down from how you were raised. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because it kind of reframes those moments where you just feel this sudden, intense irritation. When your kid's behavior causes this huge reaction in you that feels way out of proportion. Perry suggests that's a big red flag. It's a trigger, and it's probably connected to some unresolved feelings from your own past. It's really not about the spilled juice. It's about a much deeper, older feeling. Okay, so if our past is loaded with these triggers, what are we supposed to do with all the feelings that come up? Well, that brings us right to our next section, which is all about learning to work with emotions, not just your child's, but yours too. This is where we learn to stop reacting and start responding. Perry is so clear about this. One of the absolute most damaging things we can do is just dismiss how a child is feeling. You know the phrases, right? You're fine, or there's nothing to be sad about. They seem so harmless, but what they really do is teach a kid that their emotions aren't valid. And that can cause some real issues later on. So here's the bottom line. How we react in those moments of big, messy feelings, that becomes the actual foundation for our child's mental well-being. When we help them process their emotions, we're literally handing them the tools for resilience that they're going to use for the rest of their lives. And this is just such a great practical tool. So instead of dismissing the feeling, we can just follow these 3 simple steps. First, you name it. Wow, it seems like you're feeling really frustrated. Second, you validate it. Yeah, it is so disappointing when your Lego tower falls over. And then finally, you just offer connection. Can I give you a hug? It's a really simple script, but it makes a kid feel totally seen and understood. All right, so we've looked inward at our own legacy and at our kids' feelings. Now let's get into some practical tools for how to turn all that awareness into stronger family bonds, especially when things get a little rocky. I mean, what a relief to hear that, right? Perry says that trying to be the perfect parent is just a total trap. The real magic isn't in avoiding conflict or pretending you never make mistakes. No, the magic is in getting really good at fixing the connection after it breaks. And this brings us to the core idea of rupture and repair. A rupture is any of those moments of disconnection. It could be a misunderstanding, a sharp word, you name it. The repair is what you do next. You acknowledge what happened, you apologize for real, and you reconnect. It's the repair part that builds that deep, genuine trust. This chart just shows the shift so clearly. Most of us, we learn to argue to win. We focus on who's to blame, who's right. You're the one who made this mess. But Perry pushes us to argue for understanding. The goal isn't to win, the goal is to connect. So that might sound more like, I feel really stressed out when the room is messy. Can we come up with a plan together? See the difference? So here are a few key things to remember. Using I feel statements instead of you always just brings the defensiveness way down. And you have to pay attention to what the book calls bids for connection. This might be your kid asking a totally random question right in the middle of a tense moment. That's a bid. Responding to those little bids in a positive way can totally change the whole dynamic of an argument. It can turn it from a fight into a chance to get closer. Okay, in our last section, let's see how all these pieces, the legacy, the feelings, the repair, how they all come together to create the absolute greatest gift we can give our kids, a foundation for real mental health that they can take with them forever. This idea right here, it's a total game changer. What if we saw every single thing our child does, especially the really challenging stuff, as them just trying to communicate a feeling or a need that they don't have the words for yet? It completely shifts us from being a judge to being more of a detective. And this just reframes the entire idea of discipline. Instead of labeling behavior as good or bad, Perry suggests we think of it as either convenient for us or inconvenient. It's a simple little language switch, but it removes all the judgment, and it helps us focus on the need behind the behavior instead of just the behavior itself. So in the end, Perry says that nurturing our kids' mental health isn't about some huge grand gesture. It's about consistently providing these core things. It's about building that strong, secure bond we've been talking about, making sure they feel truly seen and heard. It's about being responsive, modeling empathy ourselves, and yeah, letting them have the freedom to just play and be kids. It's really the everyday stuff that builds a strong, resilient mind. I think this is just such a beautiful, powerful reminder to end with. Parenting isn't a battle. It's not a contest where somebody has to win. It's a partnership. And deep down, you and your child are both after the exact same thing. You both just want to feel connected and content. And so, that leaves us with one final thought. One little question to take with you. It doesn't have to be some big, dramatic thing. Maybe it's just apologizing for being distracted on a call earlier, or taking a second to really acknowledge how someone's feeling. This question takes all the wisdom of this book and puts it right where it matters most, in your hands.